Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast is number 1482. The topic is training, and the title is Training Program Personalization Example. So what we want to do today, I just thought it would be fun to kind of share some notes or the process in which I go through updating clients' programs. So one of my clients, they finished up their last program last week. I asked them for some feedback on the program, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they would like to look and see in the upcoming program. I then made those changes, so I want to kind of read through that. So they wrote, as for the workouts, I can't think of anything specifically I'd want to change as far as exercise selection or whatnot. I'm pretty happy overall, and it's nice getting out of my comfort zone and learning new exercises. So it's great. So I wrote, I'm glad you're open to the new stuff, because I do kind of put in new things, or I try to put in new things often into clients' programs. I repeat certain concepts and certain exercises if they're very specific to what that client needs, but I always try to blend in something new as well. So it's a little bit of the old that works, like you don't stray too far away from the basics, but you still learn some new things and put some fun things in when you can. They wrote, I will say this though, I'm pretty much just going to the gym 3 days a week. So I've been writing them a program for Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. But they said that they've been really only going Tuesday evening and Saturday and Sunday. They haven't really been doing the Thursday workout. And with that being said, they're open to the weekend workouts being longer. So I had typically had them around 45 to 60 minutes, and they said that they would be okay with doing about an hour to an hour and a half, if that would be more helpful towards their goal, just since they haven't been pretty much doing that Thursday workout. So I wrote, okay, sounds good. I'll push the weekend workouts in the upcoming program. They said overall, they like the workouts and the exercises you've given me. I guess a little more feedback. They said I like rowing in general for a warm-up or as part of a circuit. So that would be like a Concept 2 rower that we have here. I blend it in every now and then, but it's good to know that he likes it. So therefore, maybe I can blend it in more. So I wrote good to know. He said I sort of miss doing barbell squats, but one issue I always had is getting the bar to sit low caused me elbow pain. And I've been led to believe that high bar focused more on the quads, but even high bar caused me some elbow pain sometimes. So I wrote, I'll work these back in, but with specialty bars that will alleviate the elbow pain. But I'll also include therapies for the elbow. And in one program from this one, we'll test out that straight bar to see if the elbow has gotten any better. So I'll be building in corrective therapy exercises and kind of concepts into their program to alleviate that elbow issue. But in the meantime, we'll just squat with a specialty bar, and that way it alleviates the need for that extreme rotated outward position of the shoulder in order to get the hand up on the bar. So we'll alleviate that shoulder issue, but we're still going to squat since they want to bring squats back in. He said, I like all the circuits. I guess if I had one thought on it, that I like the ones with 2 movements better than the ones with 3. But that's just a minor thing, and if 3 is better for certain reasons, then by all means, let's keep it that way. I don't want that to get in the way of my results. So I wrote back, the circuits with 3 exercises are intended to push more cardiovascular stress. So your muscles and lungs will be burning, but there's definitely less strength available per exercise. So the weights you use are usually lower, which helps reduce overall stress on the joints related to weight load. The circuits with 2 exercises are less cardio. You can focus more on the quality of the movement and move heavier weights. They both have their benefits, but I'll mix in more 2 exercise circuits if there's an option where either format would work. So that is just kind of a neat thing, is when you do circuits of 3 exercises or more, you still want to pay attention to do them as good quality as you can, but you're definitely going to have more competing fatigue cardiovascularly matching the muscular fatigue. So you're going to get out of breath as much as your muscles are burning. Whereas if you do circuits of just 2 exercises, you're less out of breath and you can focus on heavier weights. So sometimes clients with the circuits of 3 exercises or more, they recognize they can't lift as much weight, so they think they're not making as much progress. However, they're still getting a ton of muscle annoyance. We're just adding on the cardiovascular stress to the muscle annoyance. And the benefit of that is you're not going to be able to use as much weight, so it actually helps recover the joints. So it really depends. If somebody's coming into a program beat up, I might use more circuits of 3. If they're trying to lose more body fat and they're not concerned about strength as a major goal, I might use more circuits of 3. If there's somebody who is strength-based, just to save time in the gym, I might have them do 2 exercises back to back, but I'll probably just keep it at 2 exercises. So that's really cool to know, and I'm glad they mentioned that. They said overall, I would say the one area I don't like about my physique is my chest. It's sort of flabby and not defined. Arms, shoulders, back, and legs have always been better features on me. So I wrote, okay, we'll hyper-focus on the chest a bit more in this program. Then they said, as far as my body composition, I still think I need to lose some more fat. They've made a ton of progress weight loss-wise, and now what we're at is pretty much they don't want to necessarily weigh less. They just want to get like kind of harder, more muscular, and kind of more defined at that weight. And we talked about how the nutrition just needs to be a little more on track. Now, they do a great job overall, but their nutrition goals, I'll give you an example here. Their training day calories are 2,400 to 2,600. Their non-training day calories are 2,200 to 2,400. And they have a protein minimum of 180 grams they're supposed to hit every day. And then our distribution goal is a third about every 5 to 6 hours. So a third of the calories and protein in the first third of the day, another third of the calories and protein in the second third, then the final amount of calories and protein in the last third of the day. Now, overall, they do pretty well. However, on some of their non-training days, they're creeping up into the training day calorie range. Now, their protein is almost always on point, so no issue there. So what we were talking about before was if they want to get leaner, we could add more activity, meaning they would have to go to the gym more or go for walks and stuff, but that's not really going to fit their lifestyle. So really, all they'd have to do is, on the non-training days, for example, they have their non-training day calorie range is supposed to be 2,200 to 2,400. And they've been in the 24 somethings, so 40, 50, 60 calories over. Then another day they're 170 calories over that. Another day they're 200 calories over. So they're not far off. They're just they're trending a little high. So if they just bring those calories down 100 a day on their non-training days, they'll be right back to where they want to be. They'll be nice and crisp and feeling that like tightness in the skin again. So that's not something we would make much of a change in our training. That's something we would change in our nutrition, which is why I do nutrition for everybody I do training with. So that way we can kind of work those together. Okay, now let's go through their workout real quick. So on their Tuesday workout, that one has to be about 40 minutes, 60 minutes, because that's after work. So what I have them doing is starting out with a circuit that works on releasing or kind of addressing imbalances in muscular tightness around the hips. And this is really important for us because after this little circuit, they're going to do the rower, the Concept 2 rower. If your hips are tight, you tend to get a lot of lower back fatigue when you're doing the rower. So I wanted to give them a quick little circuit to open up their hips, and that will address and kind of loosen some of the lower back tightness that they might feel from the rower. So then they go into a circuit of the rower with deficit push-ups and then bodyweight alternating reverse lunges. So this is a 3 exercise circuit, which I know they said they didn't want. But this is an example where I want to push that cardiovascular aspect. So this is something that helps them to understand what am I focusing on in these movements. And then also, these movements aren't weighted. So the rower, they do that for 2 minutes. Then they go into deficit push-ups for 30 seconds. It's just push-ups. So they don't have any worry about, am I using heavy enough or not heavy enough weight? And then we have them do bodyweight alternating reverse lunges, which is just going to be good for kind of warming up and working the lower body. But again, it's non-weighted. So I decided to pair, if I'm going to do a 3 exercise circuit, I wanted to do non-weighted exercises so that way you wouldn't have to worry about the weight load of the exercises. And especially since this is a much more cardio-focused circuit. Then we go to another circuit, and he's going to do dumbbell 15-degree incline chest flies into 15-degree incline chest press, and then he's going to do a one-arm row with his hand on the bench at a 15-degree angle. So this kind of is nice because he can leave the bench at 15 degrees the whole time. Sometimes trainers will put programs where somebody has to do something like at 30 degrees, then flat, then 30 degrees, then flat. Nobody wants to adjust the bench 1,000 times. So just leave the bench at the same angle and pick better exercises. So this is going to let them just put that bench at 15 and leave it there. Now, the flies right before chest press, it is going to weaken his chest press to some degree because he's going to be spending some of his chest musculature strength into the chest flies. So he's going to notice that he doesn't have as much pressing power as he might be used to having when he does the chest presses. But by doing the flies before the presses, it really helps him emphasize that the chest is going to be the major focus. Since we want the chest to grow the most, we want to wear out the chest, kind of isolate the chest before we do chest presses. So by doing the flies, you're kind of wearing out the chest, and then when you do chest presses, you make sure the chest gets buried deeper into muscular failure before, say, the triceps would give out. So this is going to help his 15-degree incline chest press actually be even more of a chest-focused exercise than what it would traditionally be. And then we're going into the back rows because if he was going to do a chest fly into a chest press, then just sit there for 3 or 4 minutes, it's kind of a waste of time. So we give an opposing exercise, such as a row. That way he can do something muscular-wise as he's waiting for his chest muscles to recover. So that's just kind of a nice way to get more work done. And then at the end, I have him doing dumbbell walking lunges. So we do full body workouts. So he's going to finish with some dumbbell walking lunges, and they're by themselves. So he just has to do a set, sit and breathe, do a set, sit and breathe. And that's going to allow him to go a little heavier on these since they are kind of like the standalone leg exercise for today's workout, other than the rower and the bodyweight alternating lunges. So he's going to have some high volume work in the legs, but the heavy work would be the dumbbell walking lunges. Now, the Thursday workout, since he hadn't done it from the last program, I just left the last one in there. And I told him, hey, since we haven't done this 4 times, just keep this in case you need it. And he's fine with that. The Saturday workout, we do a band routine for healthy shoulders because he used to have shoulder problems. That's also helping to address that elbow problem as well. He then does machine adductors and abductors, back and forth. Really good for strengthening the hips, working the hips. And since he wants to get into squatting again, we had been doing kind of like more Olympic-based lifts because that's what he really liked at that time. So we were focusing more on Olympic lifts. Since we want to get back into squatting, I want to help kind of rebuild some of the tightness and structural strength around the hips for that eccentric load in a heavy squat. So we're doing the machine adductor abductors. They're good for that. I then have him do the rower, but I have him doing 6 minutes of intervals. So he does 1 minute of a low intensity, then 2 minutes of a high intensity, 1 minute of a low intensity, 2 minutes of a high intensity. So just a quick 6-minute blast, and then we go into camber bar squats. So this is going to make sure between the adductor and abductors and the rowers work, his hips are going to be totally ready. They're going to be totally warmed up. Everything's good to go. So that's going to help him when he gets into the camber bar squats. He'll feel kind of smoother in the squat. He'll just feel kind of more ready for it since he hasn't squatted in a little while. This is a great way to kind of get his body warmed up and ready for that style of movement. So he's going to be doing camber bar because that allows for less elbow torque in the setup position. So this is a much more elbow-friendly variation of a squat. We're pairing that with farmer's carries because it's something fun and kind of new for him. Farmer's carries are great for upper back strength. They're going to help pull. It's kind of odd to say this, but when you do a heavy farmer's carry, you are gripping onto the farmer's carry and then you're just carrying it for a while. What that does is it pulls on the muscles of your elbow, the kind of the connectors of the forearms. and it's going to help to kind of even those out. So if he has a little bit of an imbalance in tightnesses around his elbow, the Pharma's carries are actually going to help to kind of pull that open a little bit, which sounds a little weird, but it does work. So that's kind of a neat way to kind of blend a little bit of elbow therapy into the workouts. Then he finishes with cable one-arm chest flies, where we have a variation of the movement, which is an odd variation, but it's a fun one, where you go from working the outer chest to working the inner chest just by changing the body angle. And he's just going to go one arm back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it's going to be fun for him to get that workout in. It's definitely going to take him longer than the hour, but that's okay because that's what we said he had time for. So that's going to be fitting that structure that he wanted. And today's workout, since he does have more time, since we are focusing on more heavy weights, it only has 2 exercises per circuit. Now, the next day, the very next day, since we're focusing on heavier movements and very lower body dominant the day before, we're going to kind of focus more on upper body the next day and maybe not as heavy of weight loads. So what I did was I kind of gave him back-to-back work that involves the chest, but also is heavy into the legs. The legs is going to help kind of just burn up more calories in his recovery. So that's going to be a way to help push him getting leaner in his programming. So the first circuit, we do ski erg reverse flies into ski erg tricep press downs, and then just seated rows on our rower. So on our Concept 2 rower, we made an attachment where you can change the handle on the rower. So we'll change it out to like D-rings, like long strap D-rings, and that gets a good therapy for just seated rows on the rower. Really good contractile, like there's contractile resistance, but there's no eccentric resistance. So that's really good for people trying to rebuild upper back strength, shoulder strength, a lot of other issues related to postural things. So he's going to warm up with that, kind of get the upper body up and ready, getting it moving. Then we're doing dumbbell lying on his back. He's going to do external rotational chest stretches. What this does is this really helps to open up any tightnesses in his chest, and it's going to actually help stretch and open up that musculature related to his elbow issue. So this is going to improve his ability to get his arms back onto a barbell when he does back squats. He then goes to dumbbell chest presses in one-arm dumbbell rows in a bird dog position, which is a very fun, weird way to do dumbbell row. We then have, he likes to do the Olympic lifts, so I have him doing a barbell hang clean into a split jerk. Just a couple singles and some different percentages here. But that's just a fun way to work on being explosive and get a full body movement in. It's challenging, but it's not going to like beat you up a lot with muscle damage. So it's going to be a good one for him. We are pairing that with Smith Machine 30-degree incline chest press. So he's actually going to go back and forth between those, and that helps get a full body movement in, but get a little more chest focus as well. And then we're finishing with camera bar front squats. And the reason why I want to finish with front squats is just to help push his quadricep development, to help strengthen the knees. I want to get him in a very upright position. I want to help strengthen those knees, since the camera bar squats that he did the day before are the way he does them is it's going to be more of a hip hinge. So I want to work on strengthening knees so that way we get both the posterior chain and the front side of the body built up. So that way when we progress to really heavy styles of back squats in the next cycle or two, all those muscles will be ready. The base of everything will be ready. His mobility will be ready. So that is an example of the feedback the client gave me, then the program that I created. So they wrote back and said the workouts sound good. I love how the workouts are really customized to me and to my goals, and how you really listen to the feedback I give. So glad to have you helping me. Can't wait to get started on the next 4 weeks of workouts. And I'm very appreciative that he chose me to work with. That's a blessing, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to be involved in people's lives and help them live their best life and hopefully, achieve their goals. So I thought that would be fun to kind of hear what that looks like. Clients give feedback. I then make the program based off that feedback. And of course, they would never want me to do Like, say they gave a feedback and they said, this thing's awful and I don't like this thing. And I'm like, yeah, but that's really good for you. I would talk that through. So I would give them a chance to understand the reasoning behind it before I would just not do it. And then they miss out on the progress. Or if I just force them to do it and say, suck it up. I'm never going to say that. That's ridiculous. I would always want people to understand why what is in the program is in there. So that way they feel 100% mentally on board with the program and they're excited to do it. And this is a teamwork. This is a team project. So I always want to know what somebody's thinking, how they're feeling, and make sure that they're on board with everything that we're doing. Cool. Okay. Well, I thought that might be fun. If you have any questions or it sparked any ideas for a new podcast or something, just let me know. Or email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. Well, if you like our podcast, please consider sharing it. If you share it on social media, that does reach the most people. But even if you're just sharing a conversation with somebody, let them know that we exist. Let them know that they can send in questions and get them answered for free. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the people who donate towards the podcast. The podcast is well over $1,000 a year for hosting costs. I give an hour to it every day, and we want to keep it for free. So thank you to those who donate. You can do so at our website. We have an option for one-time donation, monthly donation, and yearly donation. Even just $5 a month, it does go a long way, so thank you to those who do that. Also, if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Jim. If you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything that you want to know, let us know at our email, brutalironjim@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.